The old clock on the wall showed 11:30 p.m. as Rosa cleaned the 20th floor of the big office building. Her back hurt from bending over desks all night, but she kept going. This was her life for the past 15 years. While everyone else slept, in their warm beds she scrubbed floors and emptied trash cans. Rosa had thick hands that were rough from years of cleaning. The soap and chemicals had made them dry and cracked. Sometimes they would hurt so much that she couldn't sleep. But she never complained, not once. She had something more important to think about: her daughter. Every night Rosa would finish cleaning around 6 a.m. Then she would go home to their small apartment and make breakfast for Lisa. Lisa was 22 years old now, but Rosa still loved making her favorite eggs and toast. While Lisa got ready for her college classes, Rosa would count the money she had saved that week. Rosa kept all her savings in an old coffee can under her bed. Every dollar was important. Sometimes she would skip lunch to save $3. Sometimes she would walk home instead of taking the bus to save $2. Every small amount went into that coffee can. It was all for Lisa's education. Lisa was studying computer science at the local university. She was really smart, much smarter than Rosa had ever been in school. Rosa had dropped out when she was 16 to help her own family, but she promised herself that Lisa would have a better life. Lisa would never have to clean offices at night. Lisa would sit in those big offices during the day making important decisions. The funny thing was that Lisa was studying at night too, just like her mother worked at night. While Rosa cleaned computers and desks, Lisa was at home learning how to make those computers work better. Sometimes Rosa would see Lisa still awake when she came home in the morning, reading thick books about programming and technology. Rosa didn't understand what Lisa was studying, but she knew it was important. Lisa would try to explain it sometimes. She would talk about codes and programs and websites. Rosa would nod and smile, even though she didn't really get it. What mattered was that Lisa was learning something that would give her a good job. The people who worked in the offices where Rosa cleaned made good money. She could tell by their nice clothes and expensive cars in the parking lot. She would see their family photos on their desks, pictures of big houses and vacation trips. Rosa wanted Lisa to have those things too. Not the money itself, but the choices that money could give you. Rosa had learned a lot about the company during her 15 years there. The company was called Meridian Tech, and they made computer programs for other businesses. She knew which managers were kind and which ones were mean. She knew who worked late and who left early. She knew who treated the cleaning staff nicely and who acted like they were invisible. Some people would say good morning to Rosa when they arrived early. Others would walk right past her like she wasn't there. Rosa remembered all of it. She noticed everything even though people thought she didn't matter. One manager, Mr. Johnson, always thanked Rosa when he saw her. He would ask how Lisa was doing in school. Another woman, Mrs. Chen, would leave Rosa a bottle of water on hot summer nights. But there were others who would make extra messes just because they knew someone else would clean it up. Rosa saw how these office people lived. They had meetings in fancy conference rooms. They ate lunch at expensive restaurants. They wore different clothes every day. Rosa had 3 work uniforms that she washed over and over, but she wasn't jealous. She was hopeful, because soon Lisa would be one of them. Lisa was about to graduate from university in 2 months. Her grades were excellent, all A's and B's. Rosa kept Lisa's report cards in a special box right next to the coffee can with the savings. Sometimes she would look at those grades and feel so proud that her chest would hurt in a good way. But Rosa was also worried. Lisa had been applying for jobs for months, but nobody had called her back yet. The job market was tough, Lisa said. There were many people looking for the same positions. Lisa would spend hours every day writing applications and sending emails to different companies. Rosa wished she could help more. She wished she knew people who could give Lisa a chance. But Rosa's world was small, just the night shift and the other cleaning workers. They were good people, but they couldn't help Lisa get an office job. Sometimes Rosa would stay a few extra minutes after her shift to walk through the offices during the day. She wanted to see what Lisa's life might look like. She would imagine Lisa sitting at one of those big desks, typing on a computer, talking to important people on the phone. The hardest part was watching Lisa get disappointed. Every time a company said no, Rosa could see the sadness in her daughter's eyes. Lisa tried to hide it, but mothers notice everything. Rosa would make Lisa's favorite dinner on those bad days, and they would sit together without talking much. Rosa's hands were too rough to hug properly anymore, but she would pat Lisa's shoulder gently. Rosa had sacrificed everything for Lisa's education. She had worked double shifts during Lisa's freshman year to pay for books. She had walked to work in the rain to save bus money for Lisa's lab fees. She had eaten nothing but rice and beans for weeks to pay for Lisa's computer. But Rosa never told Lisa about these sacrifices. She didn't want Lisa to feel guilty or pressure. Rosa would just smile and say that everything was fine, that they had enough money, that Lisa should focus on her studies. The other cleaning workers knew Rosa's story. They would see her eating crackers for lunch instead of a real meal. They would see her wearing the same old shoes with holes in them. But they also respected her dedication. Rosa was working for something bigger than herself. One night, while Rosa was emptying the trash near the Human Resources Department, she saw something interesting. There was a job posting on the bulletin board for a junior software developer position. The salary was more money than Rosa made in 6 months. Her heart started beating faster as she read the requirements. The job wanted someone with a computer science degree. It wanted someone who knew programming languages. It wanted someone who could solve problems and work in a team. Rosa smiled because she knew someone who had all of these things. Lisa. Rosa carefully wrote down the job information on a piece of paper. She knew she couldn't take the posting, but she could remember the details. When she got home that morning, she was more excited than she had been in months. Lisa was still asleep when Rosa got home, so she quietly put the job information on the kitchen table. Then she made coffee and waited. When Lisa woke up and saw the paper, her eyes got wide. This was it. This was the chance Rosa had been working toward for 15 years. Lisa could apply to work at the same place where Rosa had spent so many nights, cleaning. But Lisa would be there during the day, in a suit, making important decisions. Rosa watched Lisa read the job requirements over and over. Lisa was qualified for everything they wanted. Her grades were good enough. Her projects were impressive. She had even done an internship the previous summer. For the first time in months, Rosa saw hope in Lisa's eyes. This job could change everything. It could give Lisa the life Rosa had always dreamed of for her daughter. It could make all those years of cleaning and saving and sacrificing worth it. Lisa hugged Rosa that morning, and for once, Rosa didn't worry about her rough hands. She hugged back as tight as she could. They both knew this was their moment. This was what they had been working toward all these years. Rosa went to bed that day with a smile on her face. In her dreams, she saw Lisa walking into the Meridian Tech building in a nice dress, carrying a briefcase going to her own office. In her dreams, all those years of night shifts and sore backs and cracked hands had led to something beautiful. Neither of them knew what was coming next. Neither of them knew that this opportunity would test everything Rosa had taught Lisa about dignity and respect. Neither of them knew that Lisa was about to face the biggest challenge of her young life. But for now, they had hope. And sometimes, hope is enough to keep you going through the darkest nights. Lisa spent 3 days preparing for the interview. She practiced her answers in front of the bathroom mirror every morning. She researched everything about Meridian Tech, their history, their projects, their values. She even learned about their biggest competitors and latest technology trends. The night before the interview, Rosa came home from work and found Lisa still awake at 2 a.m., reading about programming languages on her laptop. Rosa made her some warm milk and sat down next to her. "Mija, you know everything you need to know," Rosa said softly. "Tomorrow, just be yourself. Show them how smart you are." Lisa looked at her mother's tired face and cracked hands. "What if I'm not good enough, Mom? What if they don't want me?" Rosa smiled and touched Lisa's face gently. "You are good enough. You've always been good enough. Don't let anyone tell you different." The morning of the interview, Lisa woke up early and put on her best outfit, It was a navy blue suit that she had bought at a discount store with money from her part-time job at the campus library. The jacket was a little too big, but it was professional looking. She had practiced walking in her dress shoes so she wouldn't trip. Rosa was already at work, but she had left a note on the kitchen table. "I believe in you. Make us proud." Next to the note was a small wrapped sandwich and an apple for lunch. Lisa arrived at the Meridian Tech building at 9:30 a.m. for her 10 a.m. interview. She wanted to be early to show she was serious about the job. The lobby was huge and shiny with marble floors and expensive furniture. Lisa had only been there once before, 2 years ago, when she brought her mother's house keys that Rosa had forgotten at home. Sitting in that fancy lobby felt different this time. Before, she was just the cleaning lady's daughter bringing forgotten keys. Now she was a college graduate applying for a professional job. The security guard who remembered her from before looked surprised to see her dressed up. "You have a meeting today?" he asked. "Job interview," Lisa said proudly. "Software developer position." The guard smiled. "Good for you. Your mom must be proud." Lisa signed in at the front desk and got a visitor badge. She sat in one of the leather chairs and reviewed her notes one more time. Other people in suits walked through the lobby, talking on phones and carrying briefcases. Soon, Lisa thought, she would be one of them. At exactly 10 a.m., a woman from Human Resources came to get Lisa. They rode the elevator to the 15th floor, making small talk about the weather. Lisa's heart was beating fast, but she felt ready. She had prepared for every possible question. The conference room was intimidating. It had a long wooden table, expensive chairs, and huge windows overlooking the city. Lisa had cleaned this room many times with her mother, but being there as an interview candidate felt completely different. 3 men walked into the room. The first was the head of the IT department, Mr. Williams. He seemed nice and shook Lisa's hand with a warm smile. The second was the Human Resources Director, Mr. Foster. He was polite but businesslike. Then came the CEO, Mr. Richard Blackwood. He was tall and wore an expensive suit that probably cost more than Lisa's entire wardrobe. His shoes were shiny leather, and his watch looked like it cost thousands of dollars. He walked like he owned the world, which in this building he basically did. "Good morning," Lisa said, standing up and extending her hand. "I'm Lisa Rodriguez. Thank you for this opportunity." The interview started normally. Mr. Williams asked about her programming experience. Lisa explained her college projects confidently. She talked about the website she had built for a local restaurant. She described the mobile app she had created for her senior project. Her voice was steady and professional. Mr. Foster asked about her grades and internship experience. Lisa had excellent answers. She had maintained a high GPA while working part-time to help pay for school. Her internship supervisor had given her outstanding reviews. For the first 20 minutes, everything was going perfectly. Lisa felt confident and prepared. The men seemed impressed with her knowledge and enthusiasm. She started to believe that she might actually get this job. Then everything changed. There was a soft knock on the conference room door. Mr. Blackwood's secretary entered and walked over to whisper something in his ear. Lisa watched as his expression shifted. He looked at her more carefully, like he was trying to remember something. "Rodriguez," he said slowly. "That name sounds familiar." Lisa's stomach started to feel nervous, but she kept smiling professionally. "Rodriguez? Isn't your mother Rosa Rodriguez? The cleaning lady who works here at night?" The room suddenly felt very quiet. Lisa could hear the air conditioning humming. She could hear papers rustling. She could hear her own heartbeat getting faster. "Yes, sir," Lisa said calmly. "My mother works here. She's been with the company for 15 years. What happened next was something Lisa would never forget for the rest of her life. Mr. Blackwood's face changed completely. The professional expression disappeared. His eyebrows went up, and his mouth formed a small smile that wasn't friendly at all. He leaned back in his expensive leather chair and looked at Lisa like she had just told him a funny joke. "Wait a minute," he said, and his voice was different now, not professional anymore. "You're telling me that the janitor's daughter thinks she can walk in here and become a software developer?" Lisa felt her face get hot. Her hands started to sweat, but she kept her voice steady. "Yes, sir. I believe my qualifications speak for themselves." That's when Mr. Blackwood started to laugh. It wasn't a small chuckle, it was a real laugh, like someone had told him the funniest story he'd ever heard. He turned to the other two men at the table. "This is incredible," he said, still laughing. "This is absolutely incredible. The cleaning lady's daughter wants to be a programmer." Mr. Williams looked uncomfortable. He shifted in his chair and looked down at his papers. Mr. Foster cleared his throat but didn't say anything, but Mr. Blackwood kept going. "What's next?" he said, his laughter getting louder. "Is the mailroom guy's son going to apply to be our chief financial officer? Is the security guard's daughter going to want to run our marketing department?" Lisa felt like someone had punched her in the stomach. She had prepared for technical questions. She had prepared for tough problems to solve. She had not prepared for this. Nobody had told her that her mother's job would somehow make her own qualifications worthless. The other men in the room looked embarrassed, but they didn't stop their boss. Mr. Williams studied his hands. Mr. Foster wrote something on his notepad. "That probably wasn't important. I mean, seriously," Mr. Blackwood continued, wiping tears from his eyes because he was laughing so hard. "Do you have any idea what we do here? This isn't about emptying trash cans and mopping floors. This is about complex technology, million-dollar contracts, serious business decisions." Lisa's throat felt tight, but she managed to speak. "I understand. That, sir. I have a computer science degree with honors. I've completed several internships. I've built applications and websites. I believe I'm qualified for this position." This made Mr. Blackwood laugh even harder. "Qualified?" he said. "Honey, just because you can build a little website for your school project doesn't mean you can handle real software development. This is the big leagues. This isn't some college classroom." Lisa felt tears starting to form in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She thought about her mother, working all night to pay for her education. She thought about all the sacrifices Rosa had made. She thought about the hope in her mother's eyes that morning. "My academic record and project portfolio demonstrate my technical abilities," Lisa said quietly but firmly. "My mother's profession doesn't change my qualifications or my potential contributions to this company." Mr. Blackwood stopped laughing for a moment and looked at her seriously. "Listen, kid," he said, and his voice was condescending now, like he was talking to a child. "I'm sure you're a nice girl. I'm sure your mother raised you well. But there are levels to this business. There are people who belong in management, and there are people who belong in service positions. It's just how the world works." He stood up from his chair, indicating that the interview was over. "Your mother is good at what she does," he continued. "She keeps our offices clean. That's important work. Maybe you should consider following in her footsteps. I'm sure there are openings in our custodial department." The room fell completely silent. Lisa could hear her own breathing. She could hear the clock on the wall ticking. She could hear cars honking 15 floors below on the street. Lisa stood up slowly and gathered her folder with her resume and portfolio. Her hands were shaking, but she managed to keep her voice steady. "Thank you for your time," she said professionally. "I appreciate the opportunity to interview." Mr. Blackwood waved his hand dismissively. "We'll be in touch," he said, but his tone made it clear that they definitely would not be in touch. Lisa shook hands with Mr. Williams and Mr. Foster, who both looked embarrassed by what had just happened. Mr. Williams whispered, "I'm sorry," when he shook her hand, but it was too quiet for Mr. Blackwood to hear. Lisa walked out of that conference room with her head held high, even though inside, her heart was breaking into a million pieces. She walked through the lobby where she had felt so hopeful just 1 hour earlier. She walked past the security guard who had wished her good luck. She made it all the way to her car before the tears finally came. She sat in the parking lot of Meridian Tech and cried for everything, for her mother's sacrifices, for her own shattered dreams, for the unfairness of a world where your parents' job could determine your worth. But as Lisa sat there crying, something else was growing inside her, something that would surprise everyone, including herself, something that would change everything. It was anger, but not just anger, determination. Because Lisa Rodriguez was about to show Mr. Richard Blackwood and everyone else exactly what the janitor's daughter could do. Lisa drove home in silence after the interview. Her phone rang twice, but she didn't answer. She couldn't talk to anyone right now. When she finally pulled into the parking lot of their small apartment building, she just sat in the car for 20 minutes staring at nothing. Rosa was sleeping when Lisa got home. Her mother worked all night and slept during the day, so Lisa tried to be quiet. But as she closed the front door, Rosa called out from the bedroom. "How did it go, mija?" Lisa stood in the hallway, trying to figure out what to say. She couldn't tell her mother the truth. She couldn't explain how Mr. Blackwood had laughed at both of them. She couldn't break Rosa's heart like that. "It went fine, Mom. They said they'll call me back." "I knew it," Rosa said happily. "I knew they would love you." Lisa went to her room and closed the door. She sat on her bed and looked at all her computer, science books, her certificates, her awards from college. None of it had mattered. None of it had been enough to overcome who her mother was. But then Lisa remembered something her favorite professor had told her during her last semester. Professor Martinez had been working with Lisa on a special project, something much bigger than her regular coursework. During her senior year, Lisa had noticed a problem with how computers stored information. Files were getting bigger and bigger, but computer storage wasn't getting much cheaper. Companies were spending millions of dollars on servers just to store their data. Lisa had an idea. What if there was a way to make files smaller without losing any information? What if she could create a program that compressed data better than anything that existed? She started working on this project in her spare time. While other students were at parties or watching movies, Lisa was in the computer lab until 2 a.m., writing code and testing theories. Professor Martinez saw her potential and agreed to help. After months of work, they had created something amazing. Lisa's compression algorithm could reduce file sizes by up to 40% without losing any data quality. It was revolutionary technology that could save companies millions of dollars. Professor Martinez had been so excited about Lisa's work that he helped her file for a patent. He also introduced her to some people he knew in the tech industry, but Lisa had been so focused on getting a regular job that she hadn't pursued these connections seriously. Now, sitting in her bedroom after the worst day of her life, Lisa remembered those conversations. She pulled out her laptop and found Professor Martinez's email from 3 months ago. He had written, "Lisa, your compression technology is groundbreaking. You shouldn't be looking for a job. You should be starting your own company." Lisa read the email again and again. Then she started researching something she had never seriously considered before, starting her own business. She spent the next week learning everything she could about entrepreneurship. She read about venture capital, business plans, and startup companies. She discovered that many successful tech companies had been started by people just like her, young, hungry, and determined to prove themselves. Lisa also learned something interesting about the tech industry. There were investors who specifically looked for innovative solutions to expensive problems. And data storage was one of the most expensive problems that companies faced. 2 weeks after the terrible interview, Lisa made a decision that would change everything. She called Professor Martinez and asked if his offer to help was still good. "Of course it is," Professor Martinez said. "I've been waiting for you to call. Your algorithm is too good to waste." Professor Martinez introduced Lisa to Dr. Angela Chen, a successful entrepreneur who now invested in technology startups. Dr. Chen agreed to meet with Lisa at a coffee shop near the university. Lisa was nervous, but this was different from the interview at Meridian Tech. Dr. Chen wasn't judging Lisa based on her family background. She was interested in one thing, whether Lisa's technology could make money. "Show me what you've built," Dr. Chen said after they ordered coffee. Lisa opened her laptop and demonstrated her compression program. She showed how it could take a file that was 100 megabytes and compress it to 60 megabytes without losing any quality. She explained how this could save companies enormous amounts of money on storage costs. Dr. Chen watched carefully, asking technical questions that Lisa answered confidently. This wasn't about who Lisa's parents were. This was about what Lisa could do. "This is impressive," Dr. Chen said finally. "Very impressive. Have you thought about starting a company?" Lisa's heart started beating faster. I've been researching it, but I don't know where to start. Dr. Chen smiled. I know where to start. I'd like to introduce you to some people. Over the next month, Lisa's life changed completely. Dr. Chen introduced her to lawyers who helped her protect her patent. She met with other investors who understood the value of her technology. She learned about business planning, marketing, and company structure. Most importantly, Lisa discovered that she wasn't just smart. She was capable of much more than she had ever imagined. The confidence that Mr. Blackwood had tried to destroy began to grow back, stronger than before. 3 months after the humiliating interview, Lisa officially founded her company, Efficient Data Solutions. The name was simple, but the mission was big: to help companies save money through better data storage. Lisa's first investor meeting was intimidating, but she was prepared. She walked into a boardroom full of successful business people and presented her technology with confidence. These investors didn't care about her mother's job. They cared about profit margins and market opportunities. The presentation went perfectly. Lisa explained the technical aspects of her compression algorithm. She showed real examples of how much money companies could save. She presented a business plan that projected millions in revenue within 3 years. When she finished, the room was quiet for a moment. Then one of the investors started asking questions. Not personal questions about her background, but technical questions about her product. Another investor wanted to know about her competition. A third asked about her plans for hiring employees. Lisa answered every question with knowledge and confidence. She had done her homework. She understood not just the technology, but the business side too. 2 weeks later, Lisa got the call that changed everything. The investors wanted to fund her company. They were offering her $2.3 million to develop her technology and build her business. Lisa hung up the phone and just stood in her room for 5 minutes trying to process what had happened. She was 22 years old, and she was now the CEO of a company worth millions of dollars. When Rosa came home from work that morning, Lisa was waiting with coffee and breakfast ready. Mom, sit down. I have something to tell you. Rosa looked worried. What's wrong, Mija? Did something happen? Lisa took a deep breath. I started a company, Mom, and some very important people just gave me over $2 million to make it grow. Rosa stared at her daughter. What are you talking about? Lisa explained everything. The compression technology, the patent, the investors, the company. She showed Rosa the legal documents and the bank statements. She explained how her invention could change entire industries. Rosa listened with her mouth open. When Lisa finished, Rosa was quiet for a long time. So you're not going to work for someone else? Rosa asked finally. No, Mom. Other people are going to work for me. Rosa started to cry. But these weren't sad tears. These were tears of pride and joy and amazement. My little girl is a boss, Rosa whispered. While Lisa was building her company, she also did some research about Meridian Tech. What she discovered was very interesting. The company that had rejected her was having serious problems. Their computer systems were old and inefficient. Their data storage costs were massive, millions of dollars every year just to keep their information stored on servers. They were losing clients because their systems crashed frequently. Their stock price had dropped 30% in the past year. Most importantly, Lisa learned that Meridian Tech desperately needed exactly what she had created. Her compression technology could solve their biggest problems and save them millions of dollars. Lisa also discovered something else. Mr. Richard Blackwood was under pressure from his board of directors. The company's poor performance was making investors angry. There were rumors that he might lose his job if things didn't improve soon, but Lisa wasn't thinking about revenge. Her mother had taught her better than that. Rosa had always said, when someone treats you badly, don't become like them. Become better than them. Instead, Lisa focused on building her company the right way. She hired her first employees, 5 talented programmers who believed in her vision. She rented office space in a modern building downtown. She created a company culture based on respect and opportunity. Lisa made sure that her company was different from places like Meridian Tech. She hired people based on their skills and potential, not their backgrounds. She paid fair wages and treated everyone with dignity. 6 months after Mr. Blackwood had laughed at her, Lisa's company was growing rapidly. They had signed contracts with 3 major corporations. Tech magazines were writing articles about her innovative compression technology. Industry experts were calling her algorithm game-changing. Lisa was invited to speak at technology conferences. She was featured in business magazines as one of the top young entrepreneurs to watch. Venture capital firms were calling her, wanting to invest even more money in her company. But the most satisfying moment came when Lisa was able to do something she had dreamed about since she was a little girl. She walked into the apartment where she and Rosa had lived for so many years and handed her mother an envelope. "What's this?" Rosa asked. "Your retirement letter," Lisa said. "You're never cleaning another office, Mom. You're coming to work for me." Rosa opened the envelope and saw the job offer. Director of Operations at Efficient Data Solutions. The salary was more than Rosa had made in 5 years of cleaning offices. "But I don't know anything about running a company," Rosa said. Lisa smiled. "You know about hard work. You know about treating people right. You know about not giving up when things get tough. That's all I need." Rosa started crying again. She had spent 15 years cleaning other people's offices, dreaming that her daughter would have a better life. She never imagined that her daughter would own her own company and offer her a job as an executive, but there was still one more surprise coming. One more twist that would bring everything full circle. Because success isn't just about building something great. Sometimes it's about having the chance to show people who doubted you exactly what you're capable of, and Mr. Richard Blackwood was about to get that lesson in the most unexpected way possible. 1 year after the terrible interview, Mr. Richard Blackwood was having the worst week of his career. He sat in his expensive office chair, staring at reports that made his stomach hurt. Meridian Tech was in serious trouble. The company's biggest client, North Star Industries, had just sent a letter threatening to cancel their contract. Their computer systems had crashed 3 times in the past month, causing delays and lost data. Each crash cost North Star thousands of dollars, and they were tired of it. "We need reliable technology partners," the letter said. "If these problems continue, we will find a company that can actually deliver what they promise." Losing North Star would be a disaster. They were worth $12 million a year to Meridian Tech. Without that contract, the company would have to lay off dozens of employees. The board of directors was already asking difficult questions about Mr. Blackwood's leadership. Mr. Blackwood called an emergency meeting with his IT department. The same Mr. Williams who had been at Lisa's interview walked into the office looking stressed and tired. "What's the latest on the server problems?" Mr. Blackwood demanded. Mr. Williams shook his head. "It's the same issue we've been dealing with for months. Our storage systems are overloaded. We're running out of space faster than we can buy new servers. Every time we add more data, the whole system slows down." "So, buy more servers," Mr. Blackwood said impatiently. "We've already spent $4 million on new equipment this year," Mr. Williams replied. "The board won't approve any more purchases, and even if we could afford more servers, it's just a temporary fix. We need a better solution." Mr. Blackwood felt a headache coming on. He had built Meridian Tech into a successful company over 15 years, but now everything was falling apart. The technology world was moving too fast and they were getting left behind. "There has to be something we can do," he said desperately. Mr. Williams hesitated, then pulled out a folder from his briefcase. "Actually, there might be. I've been researching new compression technologies. There's a company called Efficient Data Solutions that's developed something revolutionary." Mr. Blackwood had never heard of them. "Who are they?" "It's a small startup. Only about a year old. But their compression algorithm is incredible. It can reduce data storage needs by up to 40% without losing any quality. If we implemented their technology, it could solve all our server problems and save us millions of dollars." For the first time in weeks, Mr. Blackwood felt a spark of hope. "How much would it cost?" "That's the thing," Mr. Williams said. "I've been trying to contact them for weeks, but they haven't returned my calls. I think we need someone higher up to reach out directly." Mr. Blackwood nodded. This could be the solution that saved his company and his job. Get me their contact information, I'll call them myself. That afternoon, Mr. Blackwood's secretary found the phone number for Efficient Data Solutions. The company's offices were downtown in one of the newer business buildings. Mr. Blackwood was surprised that such a small startup could afford space in that area. When he called, a professional receptionist answered. Efficient Data Solutions, how may I help you? This is Richard Blackwood, CEO of Meridian Tech Corporation. I need to speak with whoever is in charge there. One moment, please. I'll see if Ms. Rodriguez is available. Mr. Blackwood waited on hold, tapping his fingers impatiently. He needed this deal to work. His company's future depended on it. This is Lisa Rodriguez, CEO of Efficient Data Solutions. How can I help you? The voice sounded young but professional. Mr. Blackwood assumed Rodriguez was probably some older businessman, maybe someone's son who had started a tech company. Mr. Rodriguez, I'm calling about your compression technology. We're interested in discussing a potential partnership. It's Ms. Rodriguez, actually, and I'd be happy to discuss our services. Can you tell me more about your specific needs? Mr. Blackwood was surprised to be talking to a woman, but he pressed on. His company needed help and he couldn't afford to be picky. We're having serious storage issues. Our systems are overloaded and we need a solution quickly. I understand your technology could help us significantly reduce our data storage requirements. That's correct, Lisa said calmly. Our compression algorithm has been very successful for our current clients. I'd be happy to meet with you to discuss the details. They scheduled a meeting for the following Thursday at 2 p.m. Mr. Blackwood felt relieved for the first time in weeks. Maybe this young company could save Meridian Tech after all. Thursday arrived, and Mr. Blackwood prepared for the meeting carefully. He had his financial projections ready, showing how much money they could save. He had technical reports about their storage problems. He even had authorization from the board to spend up to $5 million if necessary. At 1:45 p.m., Mr. Blackwood's secretary buzzed his office. Mr. Blackwood, the people from Efficient Data Solutions are here. Send them to conference room A, he said. I'll be right there. Mr. Blackwood gathered his papers and walked to the same conference room where Lisa's interview had taken place a year earlier. He opened the door expecting to see a group of businessmen in suits. Instead, he saw a young woman in an expensive business suit, accompanied by two men in professional attire. The woman looked familiar, but he couldn't place where he had seen her before. Good afternoon, the woman said, standing up and extending her hand. I'm Lisa Rodriguez, CEO of Efficient Data Solutions. Mr. Blackwood shook her hand, still trying to remember where he knew her from. Ms. Rodriguez, thank you for coming. Please have a seat. Lisa sat down confidently, opening her briefcase and arranging her materials on the table. Her two companions were introduced as her Chief Technology Officer and her legal advisor. Before we begin, Lisa said professionally, I'd like to understand more about Meridian Tech's specific challenges. Mr. Blackwood launched into his presentation. He explained their storage problems, their client complaints, their budget constraints. He spoke with increasing desperation, making it clear that his company desperately needed help. Lisa listened carefully, taking notes and asking intelligent questions. Her technical knowledge was impressive, and her business understanding was sharp. Mr. Blackwood found himself hoping more and more that she could solve their problems. Based on what you've described, Lisa said after he finished, our compression technology could reduce your storage needs by 35–40%. This would eliminate your server overload issues and significantly reduce your operational costs. Mr. Blackwood felt his heart racing with excitement. That sounds perfect. What would it cost and how quickly could we implement it? Lisa looked at him calmly for a long moment. Then she smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. Mr. Blackwood, she said slowly, I have to ask you something. Do you remember me? Mr. Blackwood studied her face more carefully. There was something familiar about her, but he met hundreds of people every year. I'm sorry, I don't recall where we might have met. Lisa's smile grew wider, but there was no warmth in it. Let me refresh your memory, she said. About a year ago, I came to this building for a job interview. I sat in this exact conference room, actually. I was applying for a junior software developer position. Mr. Blackwood's face went pale as the memory came flooding back. The janitor's daughter, the girl he had laughed at, the interview that had ended so badly. You told me that I should consider following in my mother's footsteps, Lisa continued, her voice still professional, but with an edge to it. You said there might be openings in your custodial department. The room fell completely silent. Mr. Blackwood's mouth opened, but no words came out. His face turned red, then white, then red again. You laughed at me, Lisa said, standing up from her chair. You laughed at my qualifications, my education, my dreams. You laughed because my mother cleaned offices to pay for my college. Mr. Blackwood finally found his voice. Ms. Rodriguez, I think there might have been a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, Lisa interrupted. You were very clear. You said there were people who belonged in management and people who belonged in service positions. You said it was just how the world works. Lisa began packing up her materials, just as she had done a year earlier in this same room. Well, Mr. Blackwood, let me show you how the world really works. She closed her briefcase with a sharp click. My company has reviewed Meridian Tech's situation carefully. We've looked at your financial reports, your technical problems, and your corporate culture. We've decided that Meridian Tech is not the kind of company we want to work with. Mr. Blackwood stood up desperately. Ms. Rodriguez, please, I apologize for whatever happened before. We really need your help. Our company depends on it. Lisa walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. You know what's interesting, Mr. Blackwood? Since our last meeting, 3 of your biggest clients have switched to companies that use our technology. North Star Industries signed with us last month. Global Systems chose us over you 6 weeks ago, and Phoenix Corporation decided our partner company offered better service than Meridian Tech. Mr. Blackwood felt like he was going to be sick. Those were exactly the clients he had been trying desperately to keep. You see, Lisa continued, success isn't about where you come from. It's about what you can do. It's about treating people with respect. It's about recognizing talent instead of judging people by their parents' jobs. She paused at the door and looked back one final time. My mother taught me something important, Mr. Blackwood. She said that how we treat people when we have power shows who we really are. Today I have the power to help your company or not. And I choose not. Lisa walked out of the conference room, leaving Mr. Blackwood standing alone with his desperate problems and his failed company. 6 months later, Meridian Tech filed for bankruptcy. Mr. Blackwood lost his job and most of his savings. The company that had once seemed so powerful and permanent simply disappeared. Meanwhile, Efficient Data Solutions grew into one of the most successful tech companies in the region. Lisa hired over 200 employees, many of them people from working class backgrounds who had been overlooked by other companies. Rosa Rodriguez never cleaned another office. She became the director of employee relations at her daughter's company, making sure that every worker was treated with dignity and respect, regardless of their background. And sometimes when Lisa walked through her modern offices, she would remember that terrible day in the Meridian Tech conference room. But instead of feeling angry, she felt grateful, because that moment of humiliation had pushed her to become something greater than she had ever imagined possible. The janitor's daughter had become the CEO who changed everything, and that was truly unthinkable.